So Iyasikira, who only sells groundnuts, okay, and
Mm.
Bonvita and essential goods can actually use her mobile phone to order her goods instead of having to go to the market. That's how radically different the startups are making a difference.
Hello and welcome back to Sorosoke. This is a podcast created to learn, understand, and demystify life in Africa and African lives. Today, I am so honored and very pleased to have Mr. Davis on as a guest. Please, Mr. Davis, would you like to introduce yourself?
Oh, hi everybody. My name's Tomi Davis. Everybody calls me TD. And I am the collaborator-in-chief at TVC Labs, which is an entrepreneur support organization out of Yaba in Lagos, Nigeria. What we do is we find innovative African founders who are building very high impact startups. Then once we found them, we get them funded, and once we funded them, we follow them as we build the future of Africa together. I am a co-founder of the Lagos Angel Network. I'm the founding president of the African Business Angel Network, and I sit on the board of the Global Business Angel Network, which is why I'm called the African Angel. That's me. Thank you very much.
Okay, fantastic introduction. As you can tell, you have years and years of insight experience, and I'm just very like ready and very excited to kind of like soak it in. You're my first guest that has a Wikipedia page, so I'm like, this is amazing. I kind of think the first question, the first question I would like to start off with is kind of like if anyone hasn't heard of Nigeria, which is where you're from, where you're born, what would be the one thing or what how would you describe Nigeria for them?
Well, I would describe Nigeria as the beating heart of Africa's entrepreneurial spirit. With a population of over 200 million, predominantly youth, it boasts one of the most vibrant startup ecosystems on the continent, particularly in sectors like fintech, agri-tech, and edtech. However, it's not just about numbers, it's about resilience, creativity, and the ability to innovate despite challenges. That's how I describe Nigeria.
Okay, let's go into kind of like your experience and your portfolio. You've mentioned already you are involved with a lot of different things. Can you just describe and like give us a better understanding of what TVC is and what you're involved in?
Well, as I said, Technovision Communications, which is what TVC stands for, is actually an entrepreneur support organization. And it reflects my personal commitment to supporting innovative African founders who are solving real world challenges using technology, entrepreneurship, and creativity. The companies we've invested in span diverse industries, united by a shared vision, and that is to drive economic growth and create sustainable impact across Africa. So you asked about my portfolio actually straddles two paths. I've been an angel investor for a number of decades, but in 2021, after COVID, I was approached by a whole bunch of my friends, and we formalized the syndicated TVC Labs to run a program called Mentor Pitch. Now, the Mentor Pitch program enables us to mentor founders before deciding to invest in them. So, through the Mentor Pitch program, I've supported a range of startups at early stages, helping them refine their business models, secure funding, and scale their operations. Let me give you some examples. Coventi, for example, is revolutionizing Afrobeats entertainment by streaming live electrifying performances to millions of fans globally. Jumbo, offering an end-to-end cold chain logistics solution. Simple Books provides cloud-based financial tracking. Nitian is an AI-powered B2B marketplace connecting African manufacturers to global markets using cutting-edge AR technology. Helg is transforming transportation in Africa with sustainable IoT enabled electric vehicles. We've got Blue Room Care that is bringing high quality mental health therapy to people worldwide. And of course, there's Miriam Gray delivering high quality virtual and in person healthcare products. These have come from that program. And like I said, but I've been at this for a while. So also in my personal portfolio, I have companies like Sproxel, a consumer product verification service that's done over 100 million verifications. Big Cabal Media, the owners of Tech Cabal, which is enabling digital media content for African youth audiences. Power Stove Energy, a smokeless clean cooking stove, and the list goes on. On top of that, of course, is Omni Retail, which was declared by the Financial Times as the fastest growing startup of 2024 in Africa. So that's sort of what the portfolio looks like. I trust that helps.
Yes, it does. Okay, it's definitely amazing, amazing work that's been going on from your side and also the investors and the people that have come up with these ideas. I think one of my main questions with this is how how would you say that this kind of like innovations are impacting the day to day lives of the typical kind of Nigerian, say, the woman at the market buying or selling her items. Would you say that these innovations are also impacting the everyday lives of the general public?
It's had a massive, tremendous. That's why OmniBiz, Omni Retail, my company, which is less than 10 years old, was voted the fastest growing startup on the African continent. It is actually digitizing the mom and pop. So Iyasikira, who only sells groundnuts, okay, and
Mm.
Bonvita and essential goods, can actually use her mobile phone to order her goods instead of having to go to the market. That's how radically different the startups are making a difference.
Okay, fantastic. And that's exactly like the point that I was really trying to hone into is that oftentimes we hear that technology and Africa is the future and technology is advancing so much in Africa. But then when we really look into deeply the everyday lives of the woman, the child that's going to school, how is technology really impacting them and helping them? It's really helpful that you've specifically notified that yes, people can now use their phone to do simple things that they would have had to it would have been very onerous for them to do without
Let
technology.
me bring it to life for you,
Hmm.
because this is a particular, there's a lady, if you are ever in Yaba, okay, on Commercial Avenue, okay, you'll find that there's some cooking stalls there, and one of those is a small stand where uh you can buy sweets, you can buy biscuits, you can buy, just regular fast moving consumer goods. Okay, you need an extra tin of milk, a pack of sugar. You get the idea, right? That's what this woman sells. Okay, she's put two of her kids through school. She's in her mid 60s, and what she said to me was this. She called me daddy. That before Omni Retail came, every Thursday she would have to get up at 4 a.m. to go to the market. And then she was limited by however much money she had that Thursday. That's all she could buy. And then she would come back home and store it and sell it a little at a time. Sometimes it would finish before the week. Sometimes she would have too much. She said then this young man came and told her about OmniBiz. She says now all she has to do is get her son to send an SMS, and they bring out the goods, and the prices are even cheaper than what she used to get in the market. So
Mm.
that's a live example. And I'm quite sure there are literally hundreds, if not thousands, of those that Omnibiz is having an impact. That's one. Again, another
Mm-hmm.
example. I talked about one of the startup called Blue Room Care. Okay, Blue Room Care looks after mental health. Have you say mental health? Yeah. Well, guess what's been happening? You may have not heard about it, but there's a large urban drift. People are leaving Nigeria in droves.
Yeah.
Those who have access to international opportunities. And we hear a lot
Mm-hmm.
about that. You can Google it. Canada's taken in God knows how many. Are you familiar with this?
Yes, isn't it also called the Jackpot movement in Nigeria?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, what people didn't realize is that means there's some people left behind.
Mm-hmm.
Who's running MTN when all half the engineers have left? Who's running Nestle when half the staff have left?
Mm-hmm.
Are you starting to get the picture?
Yes, the schools, the hospitals, who's running all of
Exactly.
them? Yeah.
So we're starting to have a mental health crisis because people are
Mm.
overworked.
Yeah.
And that's what Blue Room Care is addressing, solving
Yeah.
a problem that is live and real. So that's really what our startups are doing. I hope that helps.
Yes, it does. It does. Fantastic. And it's very promising. And that's kind of why I wanted to create this podcast because these things are not in the news. Like I wouldn't have seen them, but there's so much that's going on the continent, on the ground, that you
Hmm.
literally have to speak to someone to tell you so you can be like, okay. Because oftentimes bad news is the news that you hear, and
Of
it's
course.
oftentimes like, oh, there's nothing going on, there's lagging. However, as you can tell, as you've just heard, it's very rich and the progress is very real, which is very inspiring. Um, just on that, the entrepreneurship in Nigeria and in Africa is growing. But recently, I've seen a headline news from The Economist that says
Hmm.
Africa has too many businesses and too little business. Essentially, what it's trying to say is that often a lot of people are there's so many entrepreneurs that there's actually
And
creating
not
less
enough
business.
customers.
Yes. What's your take on that?
Well, I'm from Lagos,
Hmm.
okay? And you know what? Just close your eyes for a minute and imagine a city where the hum of progress never stops, where nearly 30 million people power Africa's largest economy, and where innovation shapes every corner of life. Okay, now open them. Welcome to Lagos, the undisputed economic powerhouse of West Africa. Because you see, Lagos is no longer a vision.
Mm,
And from the bustling tech hubs of Yaba to the sprawling industrial parks and religious houses we have in Lekki, Lagos is pulsing with ambition, with resilience, and with opportunity. I'm talking of Lagos stands tall with a GDP of $124 billion, contributing 23% of Nigeria's economy. Yes, Lagos used to grapple, you can imagine, with the challenges of infrastructure and urbanization, but it leverages people's ingenuity to achieve a remarkable double digit annual growth rate. And what's driving the growth, which is where I'm coming from, it's the people, our skilled workforce, our relentless entrepreneurs, even our forward thinking leaders. When you understand that over a quarter of the Nigerians of Nigeria's skilled manpower calls Lagos home, then you know why Lagos is the one fueling sectors like technology, like finance, like healthcare and logistics. Okay. I mean,
mhm,
Lagos is no longer, it's more than a mega city, in my opinion. It's a
mm.
global innovation hub. Let me see if I can walk you through my own turf in Yaba. Did you know Yaba is called African Silicon Lagoon?
No, I didn't.
You didn't. Ah,
Mm,
well, I'm an area father there. From Oyingbo to Jibo through Herbert Macaulay, Murtala Mohammed, we've got fintech startups like Paga, like
mhm,
Flutterwave, like Piggyvest, like Paystack. They're reshaping global finance.
mm,
We've got Kobo 360, Drop Buddies, GoCada. They're doing the same with national logistics. And of course, I talked about Omnibiz right now that is rewriting B2B e commerce on the continent. Oh, it doesn't end there. You're of Nigerian heritage, right?
Yeah.
So you know our challenge with power, don't you?
Yes.
Have you ever heard I
Certainly.
better pass my neighbor?
Yes.
Okay, well, I better pass my neighbor is on its way to history.
Okay.
It's on the way to the history books. Trust me on that. Renewable energy is no longer a dream, it's a
Mm,
reality. Solar depot, solar kobo, Daystar Power, Energy. All of them are delivering solar powered homes and businesses. They're lighting up the skyline. These ventures are all addressing power challenges and driving sustainable growth. Similarly, you've got tech enabled solutions redefining transportation, telemedicine. I just talked to you about one of them, education, improving lives across this great city.
mm,
Now, everybody says, yeah, but there's an infrastructure challenge. Aside from
yeah.
critical road infrastructure improvements that are addressing long-standing traffic congestion challenges, Lagos is undergoing infrastructure development, strategically advancing its urban landscape. Let me give you a real example. The Lagos Red Line Rail has become operational. It connects Agbado to Igbo, and it's expected to serve over 100,000 passengers per day. The Green Line Metro is also progressing towards Lekki Free Zone to Marina. And of course, Lagos has launched an innovative waterborne transport network. What most people don't know is they're featuring electric vessels. Okay, we've got new jetties, ferry routes linking mainland to major business and residential hubs like Lagos Island, VI, Ikoyi, and Lekki. These
Mm.
developments show you that there's a commitment to modernizing Lagos infrastructure. And it's now a city where industrial parks hum, producing consumer goods, supporting agribusiness, and fostering growth.
So this is so interesting because again, you don't really hear about this. But then you've mentioned that a lot of these things are going on in Lagos. Is there
Yeah.
any other things that's going on outside of Lagos? Do you think that this is going to pull so many people to come to Lagos and then kind of like ostracize everywhere else and kind of lead to the unbalanced with urbanized city centers and kind of like less urbanized ones? Do you think
Well,
that this could cause a problem?
I'm very parochial and I'm very selfish. That's we have a Lagos boy. And to be
Mm.
honest with you, I don't buy into the geographical boundaries that the colonial masters put in place because they're artificial and false.
That's all there is to say. Okay, then kind of like to go on to this, you've obviously done amazing work. What are some of the challenges that you found with kind of like angel investing and investing into people's ideas? Have you ever like come upon a situation where the idea might be not be there, may not be there, or the idea is there but the financing isn't there? Like how do you handle different challenges with investing?
Well, I reject on average a couple of hundred ideas a month,
Okay.
just so you're aware.
Mm.
Okay. So it's not about ideas. Ideas come a dime a dozen. It's
Mm-hmm.
about execution and execution capability. And the biggest challenge has been navigating the complexities of building trust and alignment across a continent as diverse as Africa.
Mm.
It took me 10 years to build 70 networks in 40 countries. From
Okay.
cultural differences to regulatory hurdles, creating unified frameworks and collaboration opportunities often feels like solving a multi-dimensional puzzle.
And I mean, this is fantastic work on TVC. Should we go now into understanding your work with ABAN?
Well, let me put it this way. TVC was born in 1999,
Okay.
okay, and gave birth
Mm.
to everything that came after. So, what are
Okay.
those things? Well, the first of it is the Lagos Angel Network, which is Africa's most prolific angel network today. Um, when we couldn't find other angel networks on the continent, when we started LAN In 2011, there were 5 angel networks on the continent. So in 2015, we started the African Business Angel Network, which is ABAN. And I spent the first 5 years tripsing all over Africa creating angel networks. Today we have over 70 angel networks, nearly, in fact, somebody's telling me 100, but I know of 70 angel networks that I'm personally involved with and over 3,000 angel investors now. That's what's been the result of those years' work. While all that was happening, we also in Nigeria created the Innovation Support Network, which is a network of innovation hubs like TVC Labs. And currently, that network has over 100 members and it just celebrated its fifth anniversary. So that's been the trajectory of organization creation. My pet out of all of those is in 2005, 2006, I led something called the One Laptop Per Child program, which was an edutech technology enabled learning program. Unfortunately, it failed in Nigeria, though it succeeded in other places. But that gave birth to Laptops for Learning. Laptops for Learning is my NGO that provides screen based learning to bottom of the pyramid children in Lagos, Nigeria. So far, we have trained over 2,000 children that would otherwise not have seen a screen because their parents, okay, are domestic help, domestic servants, or people who otherwise cannot even afford those kind of things. I trust that
Yeah.
helps.
Yes, definitely it does. So, for example, we've spoken about entrepreneurships and the multitudes of them, and how everyone's coming up with very, very innovative and helpful kind of ideas. And you've also mentioned that you reject a lot of them as well. Do you think we will ever get to a point where you can say, okay, that's enough of like entrepreneurships and innovating new technologies? Let's work on what we have now.
Well, let me put it this way. Man will continue to evolve. And as long as we
Hmm.
continue to evolve, there will always be innovation. So no matter what you're doing, it can be done better, right?
Hmm.
If people had told the people who were driving horse driven carriages that cars would be a better bet, they didn't buy into it in the beginning. Now, people don't buy into the fact that we can have autonomous cars that people don't drive because they're not used to it. I remember at the beginning when I told people we're not no longer going to be writing letters, my wife laughed at me. She says, so all of us are going to become typists, okay, pressing buttons on the machines? Well, excuse me, what has happened?
Yeah,
Exactly that. So,
exactly.
evolution of man is continuous. It's the one thing you can take for granted. All right.
Yeah.
So, that's why we do what we do the way we do it. We write first checks. So, we're the first to market, but we have partners, okay, who then take that on and move it down the line. That's why you have venture capital, you have private equity, you have family offices. All of them have their role within the investment ecosystem.
So, if someone comes to you with an idea, would your first thing be, does this already exist? Can you work with them? Or would it be, okay, apply it, work with it, and start it up?
I used to, okay, until about 10 years ago, I would work with ideas. But now I'll just say, you know what, go find a few of your family and friends, put some money, build a minimum viable
Okay.
product, get some customers to prove that it will work, and then come back, let's have a chat. That's what I do. Here's how to think about it, okay? First is what makes yours different, okay? And does that difference matter to the people who are going to open their wallets? If it doesn't matter to them, then it doesn't matter to anybody. But if the people you're both chasing are going to open, you can imagine how many taxis there were before Uber came along.
Mm-hmm.
Think about it that way.
Many.
People would
Yeah.
have told them, you must be mad. You're going to go against New York Taxi? They'll have you
Mm.
for breakfast. Do you know how many of them there are? You
Yeah,
get the
that's
point.
very true. Yes, definitely. Okay, fantastic. I think just to kind of like maybe bring it all together and round it up, is essentially this on this episode today we're talking about technology in Africa, but also specifically in Nigeria. Where do you think technology is gonna go, or in Nigeria or in Africa in the next 5, 10 years? How do you see it kind of like progress? You've got so many years of insight and you've seen it go through, like you said, TVC Lab started in 1999. What do you think the future is and how can we all prepare for it?
Hmm. Well, technology in Africa is poised to make transformative strides over the next 5 to 10 years, driven by innovation, growing infrastructure, like I talked about in Lagos, and an increasingly tech savvy youth population, okay, driven by mobile technology. Key trends? Well, let me see if I can point out a few. Um, the first that everybody will talk to you about is the fintech evolution and financial inclusion. Because if you think fintech's been one of the most significant tech success stories we've had, right? Talked about it earlier. Paga, Flutterwave, Paystack, M-Pesa, revolutionizing payments and financial access. Well, I expect deeper penetration of financial services into underserved rural areas. I expect the expansion of digital credit, savings, and insurance products. And this is the controversial one, but it is going to happen. I expect to see an increased adoption of blockchain for cross-border
Mm,
payments, remittances, and financial transparency. The second area I expect to see a lot of activity is in green technology and renewable energy, because currently energy access remains a critical issue. I talk to my team in Lagos half the time, oh, we don't have light. Millions are lacking reliable electricity. But like I said, adoption of solar and renewable energy solutions powered by IoT and AI for smart energy grids. You're going to see the expansion of pay as you go solar models like Copper to bring affordable energy to remote areas. Startups addressing clean energy and climate resilience through tech enabled innovations, they are going to move up the ladder. Trust me on that one. Now, the big 600-pound gorilla, in my opinion, is agri-tech for food security. Today, agri-tech startups are using drones, AI, and data analytics to optimize farming practices. But guess what? You're going to see widespread adoption of precision farming, and that's going to increase crop yields. You're going to see the use of blockchain to improve supply chain transparency and to combat food fraud. And you're going to see the empowering of smallholder farmers through mobile platforms that are offering weather forecasts, pest control advice, and market access in local language. And I told you about my history with technology enabled learning. I honestly believe EdTech and workforce upskilling is actually going to be a driving force simply because limited access to quality education and skills training. Look at Nigeria. We're going to have 5 million. 5 million new Nigerians are going to arrive next year and the year after and the year after that. They've all got to be educated. So I
mhm,
expect to see growth in online learning platforms delivering tailored content for the African context. I expect to see the integration of AR, augmented reality and virtual reality. Yeah, because for immersive learning experiences, especially in vocational training, when you look at startups like Andela and Semicolon, okay, they're going to be scaling talent pipelines to bridge global demand for tech talent. So those are some of the things I see. I could go on about e-commerce and health tech, but the one I want to dwell on a bit because everybody's talking about it is the rise of AI and data analytics. Okay, because it's growing in industries like fintech, health tech, and agriculture. So you
mhm,
will see an increased use of AI for predictive modeling in government policy, disaster management, and resource allocation. You're going to see the growth of machine learning startups addressing uniquely African challenges, such as, I was talking about languages earlier, cultural nuances. Policy frameworks are going to start to come up to regulate and enable ethical AI development. And I could go on, but let me leave you with the following. Okay, look. The Africa's tech landscape is rapidly evolving with a focus on homegrown solutions tailored to local challenges. Okay, collaboration between startups, governments, and investors is going to be key in scaling innovations across borders. And that's where the African Continental Free Trade Agreement becomes critical. The next 5 to 10 years is going to be critical for that reason because to harness technology for sustainable development, we've got to unlock the demographic dividend. And how do you unlock the demographic dividend? Well, that's how you drive global influence. I trust that helps.
Yes, fantastic. And what can we do, the listener, myself, to not be left behind and participate in this movement?
And actually, you want real action points. All right,
Yes.
TD, we've heard all of the grammar and the theory. We like it. It sounds nice. What should we do?
Yeah.
Okay, to be sure we stay ahead and seize opportunities in Africa's rapidly evolving tech and innovation landscape. Abby,
Yes, definitely.
one, stay informed and curious.
Hmm.
That's why you're listening to this. Follow the trends in key industries like fintech, agri-tech, health tech, renewables, etc. And hey, listen to the podcasts like this, subscribe to relevant newsletters and blogs that cover African technology and entrepreneurship. I would personally recommend my own Tech Cabal. Why? It's one of mine. That's the first thing. Second thing is build and leverage your networks. Okay, attend events, okay, both online and in person, so that you connect with founders
Yeah.
and then engage with angel networks like ABAN or platforms like mine to access opportunities for mentorship or investment. I trust that
Fantastic.
helps.
It does. It has been amazing to be here with you and for you to share your insight. And as you said, you've got a wealth of knowledge, and I am so honored for you to have spent this time with me, but also to have shared a little bit of your knowledge with everybody else that is going to be listening. Thank you so much for joining. Do you have any last things to say before we end?
Yeah, I'd like to thank you, and I'd like to say to your audience, please, to stay relevant and capitalize on opportunities, you must learn, network, adapt, and most importantly, act. The future belongs to those who are proactive and bold in embracing change. Thanks for listening. My name is Tomi Davies.